Well, I have to tell you, Zach, right? Like the wealth of knowledge that is in this group. I mean, I'm talking the array of different businesses, backgrounds, right? We have everything under the sun. But my biggest takeaway has been the lesson I'm learning is don't be afraid to ask for help. Like being part of a men's group, right? I thought when I got here, it would be like, oh, I can't tell these guys I suck or I'm going through this or, um, but I learned when I asked for help one time, like my phone blew up, right? And my messages. And so what I learned is that I'm not alone, right? I may not be at the level of some of the guys, right? But the learning you can just from me watching the conversations in our group chat, right? Like the wealth of knowledge is amazing, and it doesn't matter if it's finance or if it's say health insurance, right? Or what plumbing and heat. I mean, we got guys from all walks of life. And what I've learned though is like, yeah, we may be different, but a lot of us are the same, right? We're here for I think the big reason is to help one another achieve success, whatever that looks like for each of us, right? And so the biggest thing that I've learned, that my biggest takeaway, there's no judgment. And I love it, right? Because I can come in there and whine a little bit. Yeah, you guys might give me some shit, but there's always the responses of, hey, this is what I would do. You know what I mean? Um, or go talk to so and so. They know better about that than I do. And it's cool. And I've been able to reciprocate, right? Like the law of reciprocity is huge in our group. I love it because right? Some people come to me. I just celebrated 22 years clean and sober. So someone struggling with addiction or alcoholism, right? They say, hey, why don't you go to Max or so and so? And it's cool, right? Because we all like my way is not the only way, but I love like we can all get together and figure out for our brother, like what's the best way to help this guy. And that's my biggest takeaway.
Man, I love it, bro. And it's funny, it's like long time no see. I don't know when my episode or your episodes will air, but we literally just had for those of you who don't know, we just literally recorded an episode for Max's podcast. But yeah, man, like so let's tell the guys who you are and what you do, and then we'll like hop into it. I took a couple notes from the beginning and I'm just excited to have a conversation with you, Max.
All right. Well, what I do, I'm a by trade, I'm a substance abuse counselor and worked in the addiction field for over almost 16 years now. But I started a private practice. So basically, what I am is like sober coach, substance abuse counselor, accountability partner, right? Mindset coach. And because as I've grown in my field, right, I've realized in the beginning I was that guy, right? If you don't do it my way, I can't help you because you're going to die and I can't sit here and watch you die. To, okay, what is your recovery going to look like for you? And then let's work on that, right? So that's kind of what I do. I also do interventions if needed. I help people get into treatment, right? Wherever they may live, try to find the best place. I mean, I don't make money off that, but sometimes people don't know, like, where can I go? I have this kind of insurance, and then I can go, okay, let me help you do that.
Mm.
So, just like one of the guys I interviewed lately, I guess long, story short, I'm a recovery advocate.
Mm.
Um, my passion and my purpose is to help people get sober and stay sober, or get clean and sober and stay sober, whatever that looks like for them, and to be that support, right? And not only for them, but for their families, because I'm a big proponent of involving the families, because I've seen it in my 16 years when the family's involved, the chances of success go up. But right, I've also had families where go, hey, we're dropping off Junior. We'll see him in 90 days, fix him. And I'm like, whoa, 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 that doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
We right. But I've gone through I could give you every scenario. I mean, right. We know addiction is horrible, right? I mean, I've probably seen more deaths than I would like to because of it. Like I lost a brother to suicide because he lost his battle to addiction, but I keep going, right? Because that's just been my calling. And right, it's kind of helped me in this entrepreneurial, goal that I got going on, because like people like Zach in our group, hey Max, it's not for the faint of heart. It's just like recovery, right? Like when you first get sober, it's not for the faint of heart because you're going to go through some stuff that you just went, I got to do what?
Bro, some
Right?
of the best entrepreneurs I know are recovered addicts. Swear to
Oh,
God.
they're smart. They're
They're
only,
smart, resilient, like,
yeah,
what, there's, not to joke about the subject, not to make fun of it, because I believe what you're doing is super important. But there's like those like motivational memes. There will be like, bro, you're gonna let some crackhead go out and get like do whatever it takes to get what they want, and you're over here making all these excuses and stuff. Like there's a little bit of of truth in that, dog. Like,
right?
some of these guys will do whatever it takes to succeed once they finally, and obviously this channel is a little bit more polarizing. Whoever the addict is, when they finally pull their head out of their fucking ass and find something better, a better vehicle or avenue to put that energy,
Right. Absolutely.
they explode.
Well, that's what it took for me, right? Like in the beginning when I was struggling, I didn't have work experience for 9 years because I was out there doing my thing, right? And so I remember talking to my mentor, my sponsor, and I go, man, I keep getting turned down, right? It was the same when they found out I was a felon, but they would be like, well, we went with another candidate. And when you're looking at them, that look on their face, it's like, oh, I thought this was a felon friendly place, right? And I'm getting pissed off. And he goes, go flip burgers. And I said, man, you know who you're talking to? Like, I'm not doing that. And he just giggled at me and he said, okay, don't do it then. Right. And I just remember that night I prayed and I said, okay, God, if I got to flip burgers at McDonald's, I'll do it. I'm willing. And then the next day I got called from a place I interviewed, and that started my journey into getting better jobs. And,
Mhm.
22 years later, my jobs and my pay have gotten better ever since. Like, I've not gone without, right? I've gone through some struggles, but I've never gone like where I'm back at square one. But what I found with the alcoholics and addicts who recover, when they get that advice where they say, there's a saying that goes, if you work half as hard in your recovery as you did getting your drugs and alcohol, you'll be golden.
Fuck yeah,
And
bro.
when I started doing that, I realized, right, dang, they're right.
Mhm.
Right. And I know a lot of people in recovery that are freaking multimillionaires, right? Because they took that energy and they switched it to something positive, right? And those are the guys that I looked up to that I wanted to be like, right? Little did I know, like, I wouldn't start my entrepreneurial journey until like my 50s, 54, whatever it was. But I realized that if I take that focus when things get tough, right, I get that reminder in my head that, like, dude, just keep going, don't
Mhm.
quit, right? No one quit on you, don't quit on yourself. And I just interviewed a guy who's a millionaire who has a few treatment centers out in freaking Arizona that's doing really well for himself. But
Awesome.
he's a lot like us, right? He worked his recovery. He's works in integrity, right? He says he's going to do when he says he's going to do it, and just right. And that's kind of what I've learned from my recovery and being with you guys. Like, because all of us, if you think about it, are in some type of recovery from some,
Million percent, bro.
right?
A
And
million percent.
if I can be that guy that can help someone, no matter what the challenge is, like, that's my responsibility. I mean, and I'm not plugging any 12 step, but there's a saying in our meetings and our literature, right? And when I heard it the last time, it has stuck with me for 22 years, right? So it goes like this. He said, when anyone anywhere cries out for help, let the hand of AA be there. And for that, I'm responsible, right? So I do that, and I sometimes take the AA part out. When anyone anywhere cries out for help, it's my responsibility to be the guy that puts my hand out and goes, how can I help? Right? Without wanting anything in return. And that's kind of, I believe, has what's kept me sober for 22 years, right? I get outside of myself and that selfishness long enough to help someone. But then I get around you guys and I realize that we have to take care of ourselves, because if we're not, you and I had that conversation, right? If I'm not putting the oxygen on first, then I'm no good to my family, because I'm going to be on the
100%.
ground passed out.
Bro,
So,
100%, dude. And it's I want to kind of bring this full circle because there was something you said in the very beginning that kind of is a good segue for, and it's the fact that, like, the note I wrote down was a closed mouth doesn't get fed, like you had made the comment, like, hey, you're in there, you're paying attention, you're watching. And when I've asked for help, I've received it. Now it's a double-edged sword because it does require some sort of law of reciprocity, like you were saying, where like if Max doesn't engage and involve himself, like unfortunately, not everyone shares the whole like, hey, when someone asks for help, I'm going to be the hand, because some people are just tired of offering hands to people that take advantage. Now, I'm not here to like say what's right, what's wrong, and maybe if we want to have this conversation on this episode, we can. But the thing is like Max shows up and he helps when he can, right? And so that therefore, when it's time for Max to need a hand, he's got 10 hands coming down to help him, right? Now, the caveat to that is again, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Like if we don't know Max is in trouble, we're not mind readers, but we're fucking busy too, dude. We have our own problems.
Yeah.
And but I'm chasing a squirrel here, but one of our guys, Nick Lavery, is he was like the world's first or the first person in history to be an above the knee amputee from the special forces and then go back and rejoin the special forces. Like this dude is a savage, or his nickname is the machine, right? This dude is a machine. And he was like telling a story about how he literally, it was either him or one of his platoon guys. So don't like hold me to it exactly, but it was either him or one of his guys who literally got shot in the fucking face, dog. In in combat, got shot in the fucking face. Now, for us civilians, we'd probably be like, "Holy shit!" Like, yeah, that's like a dangerous wound. But for them, they're like, "Oh, bro, it's just like a flesh wound. It like went in one part of his mouth and out the whatever." But
Right.
someone else, and pardon me if I used the wrong term, called it a platoon, but like someone else in his group in his unit,
Right.
um, got a pretty critical fucking hit. So, albeit while this dude's face is shot the fuck up, I don't want to say no one's worried about him, but we understand he will live to see another day, right? Like we all have to focus on this person. And so, like, I say that story to say, like, that's what's, cool to see the camaraderie inside of Uncaged is like, we all have our own fucking issues that we're dealing with. We're putting out fires. We're dealing with our own shit.
Yep.
Life is fucking hard for all of us. But if Max comes up and Max has that critical wound, I'm not so worried about being shot in the fucking face. Like we're gonna do what we need to do to band together, take care of Max, make sure he gets to safety, make sure he's, taken care of, and then we can work on, mending our own self. Now, this is not to contradict what Max just said about sometimes you do have to take care of yourself first. Like, he's referencing our last conversation on his channel, which was, we used the whole airplane or oxygen on an airplane, analogy. Like, oxygen comes down and they tell you to take care of yourself first. Cause if you pass out, I'm sure as hell not helping Lottie. Lottie can try and pick up a 250-pound man I said 250, 225, son.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, man. I mean, like, bro, that's spot fucking on, dude. And you've gotten to see that firsthand experience.
Yeah. It happens all the time. And I think I'm just, you know, I may get down on myself, right? And that imposter syndrome kicks in, but then I remember like, dude, I'm 22 years clean and sober, right? Like I've been kept around for a reason, right? So it quickly gets me out of my head so I don't get into the poor me's and get into the chat and go, oh, you guys, I hurt my leg. And you know what I mean? Where everybody's going to go, you're a pussy, bro. Just suck it up.
Right.
I mean, but, I don't participate as much as I would like because a lot of the calls are during work, but I do my part and let people know I'm here. I wish everybody a good morning most of the time, most of the days, right? And then if anybody calls me or reaches out, I make sure that I answer and go, okay, how can I help you? What's going on, right? And yeah, it's been quite a journey, right? And grateful that I, pulled the trigger, right? And even though you and I had to talk and I told you about my struggles, right? I had, that's how we got to be, is honest with each other, right? And but I'm still here. I still want to do it. I'm still plugging away because I got to remember sometimes you got to crawl before you can walk. Sometimes then you walk before you can run, right? And I get back and forth into those, right? And sometimes it's hard, and people watching are going to know some of us, right? When you see the successful guys in the group, right, and some of the posts they make, you're like, damn, does he want to adopt me, bro? I'll be the best son ever, bro. I'm telling you, like, I won't bitch and complain. I'll do whatever chores you want me to,
Right.
but you know what I mean? But here's the other thing on that end is like, I got to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing that I've taken away from anything that I've learned, especially Uncaged, is not quitting on myself, no matter how tough it gets, right? Because it's easy. I'm that guy. I know how to isolate and cut everybody out and disappear, but I don't do that because I know that's not good for me. So, some guys might like, I don't know how to help them, but there's usually three or four, if not more, that go, hey, I'll help. What can I do for you? Tell me what's going on.
100%. And that leads me to another note I wrote down, like what you had mentioned in the beginning. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a sidebar real fast before we hop into it. What you just said, it was really interesting. My Bible study, one of my Bible studies this past week, I was like, man, I can't wait to use this. But so here we are. It was talking about, planting seeds, and it was like referencing, wheat, and like a wheat seed. And, once one seed gets planted, just a singular seed, more wheat grows, and then that produces more seeds, and then those seeds, will fall off, get blown off, will end up planted. But it was referencing impact that one singular thing could have. But the thing that really stuck with me was when that seed gets planted into the soil, there is a outer layer, there is a covering on that has to be stripped away first before it can ever lead to that impact. And like we have all the like analogies of like diamonds are made under pressure and iron sharpens iron, it's got to go, under heat before you can melt steel. Like we have all these things, but like it just something about that analogy. I was like, dude, that's really fucking cool. And so like seeing stuff like that happen in not only my life, but like, I get to have such intimate conversations with so many of the guys and hearing the stories from them. And like, it's cool. It's cool too, to see that like some of us are going through that strip away, chapter of our lives at the same time, like together, like, so it gives you this sense of hope where you're like, I'm not alone. Like this is like, I can get some of this stuff off my chest without feeling judged or lesser than or whatever. But also to the bring it back, as you had made comments even just now about not being at certain levels. And the coolest fucking thing that I've personally learned in my involvement with these men is, yeah, you've got hundreds of guys. They're at all different levels. Like, of course, not everyone's at the same level, right? And
Right.
what's cool about that is knowing that these guys that are at levels that we are not currently at, were not there previously either. Like there
Right.
was someone else at a level above them that passed the baton, if you will, that
Right.
passed down that flow of knowledge, like that was willing to go out of their way to share information. Now, obviously, there's a flip side to that. Like, I try to help educate some of the guys that are trying to grow inside the group of saying like, listen, man, some of these dudes that are truly successful and some that are truly successful at every area of their life, when that flow of knowledge will stop if you stop doing the work. Like they're not just out here giving out information because it makes them feel good. What makes them feel good is seeing you win. And
Right.
when you purposely stop winning, they will stop coaching you. Because
Yeah.
they don't have to do this. This isn't a fucking philanthropic journey for them. Like they genuinely, from a good place in their soul, want to see you win, but they understand they can't want it better more than you. So as
Right.
soon as you stop doing the work, that information fucking stops.
Right. That's just like my recovery, right? If I stop doing the work, guys are there, right? But they're not going to be there to listen to your whining because they're going to ask you, like, okay, for instance, what step are you on? Oh, I'm not doing any steps. Well, they're going to say, okay, cool. All right. Let me know when you get busy, right? And I've
Let
also
me know
seen,
when you take it serious.
right. And I've also seen the extreme when people are whining, right? I had this, after one of my men's groups, right? It was guy was whining to a sponsor. The sponsor goes, man, check this out. He's all, what? He goes, you know what that is? He goes, no, what is that? He goes, that's you sucking the fucking life out of me. Go work your steps, right? And the guy looked at him like, letting you see the light. Like sometimes it takes that, right? He goes, shit, okay, right? Guy's still sober, right?
Yeah.
Many years later because he finally, but sometimes we have to be tough like that, right? Like when people are constantly asking you for help and you give them, tools or the advice, right? And you watch them walk off and you watch them not do it. And then they come back and they said it didn't work. You're like, because you didn't do anything. Like, show me, right? So that's why I understand in our group, right? It's the same principle, right? Like if I'm going to reach out to one of those guys that's like years ahead of me, I better prepare myself because he's going to give me advice and he's going to say, this is what I would do. So the next time I come back to him, I know he's going to say, well, how did that work? And if I go, I didn't try it yet, he's going to go, then call me when or talk to me when you do the things I suggested. Right. But if I come to him, like what I've learned, and I said, I did this, this, and this, right. I made a mistake over here, but they hear that you're trying, they're going to go, awesome. Here, try this, right? Then they'll continue to, it's like anything, I think, in life, right? If someone is just whining and expecting you to do it for them, then yeah, most people go, no, I'm not, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that, right? Because then I'm taking away your learning process and your experience, right? Because you and I know that experience is the best teacher, no matter what we're going through, right? And one thing I've learned from the group too is, right, like pay attention, right? If I'm going through something, what did I learn, right? Because that's how I approach some of these guys in our group, and even you, right? I'll say like, I tried this and it didn't work, and because then I show them like, oh, I'm actually trying, right? So I not that I want to make them help me, but that I get the correct guidance if I'm really trying, right? Because they're going to say, because what, and you and I know, right? You can look me in the eye. If I'm shooting you a bunch of crap, you're going to go, dude, like I see right through you, right?
Yeah.
But it teaches me, right? Like I have practice in my recovery, right? To do the same thing in this group is always be myself, tell the truth no matter what. If I'm doing good, if I'm not, because I don't want any of the guys, like going after the call or whatever, going, hey, dude, we're not helping Max. I think he's full of shit. Right. And that's kind of legacy, like you and I as parents and me as a grandparent, right? We want to leave that legacy for our kids and grandchildren. Is like, oh yeah, dad, when he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And he's always shot us straight. He was always honest. He might have been tough, but right. That's what we love about my dad or my grandpa. And right. Cause that's kind of legacy I want to leave. Yeah. If I can leave a bunch of money for my grandkids and stuff, of course. Right. So they can use it for college, but that's not my main driver. It's to teach them the principles that I've learned over 22 years and in being in our group is right. That's what's really going to make us stand out anyway, right? Because people even that don't know us to see us on a post or something, they're going to go, I like that. I like what he said. Like, I got to hit him up. Like, what's going on?
It's funny you say that because I don't know if grass is greener on the other side, right? Like I don't think you really know until you either try it or would you even be around to know if it worked. You right. So hear me out. Uh, it's funny that you had made the comment, leave my kids a bunch of money because like a lot of us believe that that's like the legacy building, right? And albeit there's some things I've put into action in my life to kind of do that for Lottie, right? So that is actively like we are in the same thought process right now, saying like, hey, we would like to set them up for success, right? Let's just say that.
Right.
But it's funny because like sometimes we associate that with a numerical amount associated to a dollar, right? Like there is like, hey, what would create a legacy? Oh, would it be 100 grand, a million, 10 million, 100 million? Like, what is that? We don't know. But it's funny because the more I've started paying attention to people, and it's kind of like a answers 2 points to this. You had said like, hey, I'm gonna, call some of these guys and get on and call with them. Every one of their conversations revolves some sort of action.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting on there and just fucking chit chatting. Like there
Right.
is action step that has to happen, which requires doing the work. And doing the work has zero association with money, right? We can agree with that.
Right.
Well, so the more I've been paying attention to some of these people too, and here again, like there's levels to this. So here you and I are not at some of these levels, saying like part of like what we envision makes us successful is leaving a legacy, and we associate legacy to money. Whereas some of these people that I've paid attention to that are in levels that I would like to get to, who have all the money in the world, who have
Right.
like in our mind what would make what we leave our children and grandchildren a success, and they're not leaving them any fucking money. Zero money. They're leaving them the action steps to acquire it. They're giving them access to the information and the education to acquire it for themselves. They are giving them the tools, not the rewards.
Right.
Right. So, like, and that's, it's wild. Again, I told you so. Recovered addicts are some of the best hardworking motherfuckers I know. And it's wild to see that like some of this like personal and professional development conversations tie into sobriety, because like none of your sponsors can give you sobriety. They
Nope.
can only give you the tools.
That's
That's
right.
fucking it, dog. How
That's it.
bad do you want it?
Absolutely. See, when I work with guys, though, I make them think because I look at them and because, right, especially when they're new, and I'll say, remember, you deserve the best sobriety possible. And you should see their eyes like, because, when you're new, like when I was, you know, I, I'm sober now and I can think, I can remember all the damage I did to my family, right? Not being with my kids for 9 years because my addiction was more important, right? You really begin to get to feel, right? But when someone, how I do it is I tell them that you deserve the best sobriety possible, but I follow it up with is, are you willing to do the work? Right. And I'll do it with you. And then I tell them, look, just because I have time, right? I don't walk behind you. I don't walk in front of you. We're going to do this side by side. And I've learned when you let them know that you're at their level, like you're not, you know what I mean? Like when they tell you to talk to a kid to stoop down to their level so they're not looking up at, right? 225-pound dad when dad's in a bad mood, right? Like, oh, Lottie's going to go like, oh shit, right? Or my grandkids or whatever, right? And that's what I've learned too in this group. Is that what everybody does, right? I've never heard anyone talk down to anybody, right? Not once, right? And that's kind of how I carry on, right? And it's not so, you know what I mean? You're right, because look at Warren Buffett, look at Bill Gates, look at all those multi-billionaires, right? They don't leave money to their kids, right? But you're right. They leave them the tools. If you watch what dad did, this is how you're going to be successful. And that's like priceless.
Yeah.
Right. But Warren Buffett does pay for his kids' college or his grandkids. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all
That's
they get.
tools. Yeah.
Right. He goes, that's a tool I'll give you so you
Yeah.
can learn. Right. But, um, you know, I, I say that because, right, like my family didn't have a lot of money. We weren't poor, but
Right.
right, the next generation is all I'm going to give my kids more than what I had, right? And that's the goal. But my legacy, the true legacy, is when I get buried, right? Is like, what's that saying from Maya Angelou, right? You might not remember what you did, but people will always remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
That is right. If I'm having a conversation and I'm being a dick to Zach or whatever, and now something happens, his last thing of me is going to go, that guy was an asshole. He was a dick, right? But so just, that I fall back onto that thing of being of service whenever I can. Because after my last relapse, like I told you, my sponsor couldn't keep me sober, right? I relapsed 4 times. But one thing that the advice I took from him is he's like, I don't care who it is, right? If someone asks for help, you're going to help them. You're going to learn to get outside of yourself, right? Because he goes, not just alcoholics or addicts. I'm talking anybody needs your hand. You better put it back out there. And that was a valuable lesson for me, right? Because I didn't sit there and go, oh, they're not in the program, so I can't help them, right? Because that's what my mind would have gave me the excuse not to help someone. So that's how I live my life, right? Whether it's family members, friends, people, in our group, or someone coming in new that's really struggling, I'm going to help as much as I can.
And I think that's like it's such good advice because like I truly believe and we preach this in Uncaged is like we're stronger together. At the end of the fucking day, we are stronger together. So like it might not be me that like is in an opportunity to fucking crush it and kill it and support XYZ show. What does that look like? And being able to provide that opportunity for someone else that eventually that will come back and not to say benefit me like I'm doing it with ulterior motives because I genuinely want to fucking see them win. But it's just really fucking cool to see that, like we said at the fucking beginning, it's like when you come into the group with the mindset of how can I help a fellow brother? How can I help give them that helping hand? When it's time for you to need help, there's 10 fucking hands down, holding you and supporting you, bro. We might be having a little bit of technical difficulties on Max's side. So we were coming up to the opportunity to wrap it up. And so I wanted to obviously throw it back to him and ask him what it was that we could do to pay him back for the time that we spent here with us today. And whether or not we get to ask Max that or not is yet to be determined. So if he is able to get his connection refixed, we will hear that from him. Other than that, I think one of the biggest takeaways that we could have here and apply to our life is honestly kind of taking a moment to think about what the path of sobriety looks like. And so whether or not you are a previous user or addict or not, is like what goes into that mindset. Like I think we can all kind of put our heads into that mental space. And for someone like Max, who's been clean for 22 years after spending 9 years, addicted with 4 relapses, is like at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how bad do you fucking want it. So whatever it is out there in your life, what are you dreaming about? What are some goals that you have? How are you expecting to change the trajectory of your life? Or even to Max's point, like leave a legacy for the people that you care about. It's all possible. The deciding factor is going to come down to how bad do you want it? Because once we can answer that question, it's about doing the work after that. That's it. And we all know inside of Uncaged that it all comes down to doing the fucking work. So, yeah, man, had a great conversation here with Max. If y'all have any questions or want to reach out to Max, please reach out to myself. Anyone in Uncaged would be more than happy to connect you with him. If you are someone that is struggling with sobriety or know someone that is looking for a resource to help kind of coach you through that process, get you plugged into a recovery center, or just get some sort of helpful advice, please reach out to us. We'll get you connected with Max. And other than that, we appreciate y'all and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.